everyone, welcome to Manvi Tapes. So today we have Zahra Ammar, a paper artist specializing in quilling and geometric sculptures. So today I am honored to ask her a few questions I have in my pocket for quite a while. So let's meet her. Hello Zahra bin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me over here. It's an honor.
All right. Zarabin, I wanted to ask you a few questions. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm a big fan of your work. I love how you execute. I love how you show it on, and your pigment making story is amazing. So I have few questions that maybe a lot of viewers would love to know about you. I'm gonna start off. What first inspired you to start working with paper as a primary medium? So what was your first time that you actually fell in love with paper?
So that's a great question. I've always been creative. I've been doing something or the other since, my memory goes back, like even in childhood. I learned how to do silk dyeing and block printing, and learned embroidery from my grandmother and crochet from my mother. And I had always been actively looking and working with a lot of mediums. So I don't have a art degree as such, but I have a lot of informal education in art in that kind of a way. And I always was fascinated with what paper could do, because there were so many avenues that I could think of, like not just origami or putting pieces of paper together, or doing paper mache, or like other, but like other work. So I started paper quilling specifically about 20 years ago, and it was just making tiny things, and it was a kind of a wonder for me, just twisting and twirling paper and making shapes out of that. So I kept at it, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And even now you see, I go back to different mediums. I go to watercolors and do different things, but I always come back to paper. That is, I think, kind of like my true love. Keep coming back to it. So yeah, it's been about 20 years I've been working with paper exclusively, and in a professional kind of a journey, I've been working at it for about nearly, like, I would like to say 15 years, something like that, 10 to 15 years. Yeah, it's been over a decade now.
I think the experience that you have, it shows in your work. I can see that totally. The delicacy, and not only that, I have also seen transition in your paper color scheme. First, they used to be very bright colors, and then it went into subtle tones, and now I think you're working more towards metallic colors, gold, things like that.
I myself have seen phases of my work. I've seen a lot of I would say growth. Obviously, tastes change, and you get inspired by different things, inspired by things around you and things that have happened to you. And that has definitely happened to me too. So I think I've had phases in my life where my work and my color choices have reflected what I do. There are still things that I definitely come back to. There are certain themes in my work which are recurring, some sort of specific geometry or some specific flowers or floral work. I think it will always be a part of me, because it it's a joy to make them. That's the best way I can put them. But other than that, I try to experiment, because that's what keeps the you know curiosity alive.
I agree. I agree. And I have even noticed that you have specific toolkit that you have, I think with time, obviously you have gathered and specialized in it. So you have specialized tools. Do you also have a kit that maybe a lot of new artists who want to come, and would you recommend, or do you have a kit that you uh, have maybe there's up for sale, or you have?
So specifically for quilling, when I started, there were very few resources, barely any YouTube videos or any like literature out there to do this kind of a thing. Although it's a very old art, it's nearly like 600 years old, but it's recently seen this revival. And when I was doing this, people would DM me on Instagram and message me. I even certain times get emails still on a regular basis. How do I learn this? And a very good friend of mine, she did some research, and she's like, you sit and you talk to people and you give them as many leads as possible. Why not let's like take this to the masses? So we kind of partnered up, and we created a quilling kit just for beginners. So it has all the tools and supplies that you need, the instructions, materials, and like a step-by-step kind of a thing. So we created that. It doesn't have any unnecessary things, and it tells you exactly what the tool is for and how you're going to use it. Right. And then that really took off. So we've been doing that for the past about 5 years now, where we teach this art at the very basic level where I learned it from. And now we have slowly, gradually increased and, become bigger and have more kits and, more presence as well. So definitely I'm big on teaching what I've learned, because that is very crucial for my own growth. Getting it out means something's going to come back in. So it's like a cycle of give and take, and I truly believe in that.
Okay, so viewers, you already heard the kit is out there, and if you want to have a look at it, you can go on the link below, and we'll be showing you a little snippet of how it looks, and maybe you'll be interested, so then go and get it if you want to learn how to do quilling. Okay, so I'm coming back to you about these pieces that you make. How long? Because I've never worked with paper that much. A little bit of installation work I used to do, but not like properly making it into a sculpture. So for an oil painter and for a sketch artist, as I wanted to ask you, how long does it take you for this one big, huge, I've seen this huge paper sculpture that you have made. How long did it take you, the large scale sculpture?
Oh my goodness. So it all depends. If I have things figured out already, there are certain things that I can make in about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the scale. Maybe it's like a 3 feet by 4 feet piece. It would take me about 2 to 3 weeks. And the thing with that is, even if because it's a lot of manual work where you're folding and scoring and gluing it together and putting things together, so something around that time. And then you've got to give it time as well, because again, you're working with glue and you can't rush certain things, because the glue will obviously expand and contract, and you've got to know the intricacies of how it behaves. It has a personality. So something along those lines. And then if at times when it's like a large quilling piece, I recently just finished a piece for a big hospital commission, and that took me about from the concept, I would say 2 months. But then if I'm like just looking at the time when I'm making, then that's about 3 weeks. So sometimes what it happens that I start with a sketch, and then I'll take out and see what colors I'm going to put in, and then, go and run with that. And it's not exactly to plan, because the sketch, when you turn it into a 3D piece, it will be different. Things will be different. You cannot create something that's, 2D into 3D just as is. There are a lot of dynamics that go into place. So
I agree, and um, I'm gonna also point this out that when I look at the sculpture point. So these questions so far that I've been asking, I've taken feedback from a lot of people, and then I've putting up questions what question they feel like asking you. But there's one personal question I want to ask from my side, and that is, do you feel like you sometimes need to hire help, or where there is labor intensive task, because paper quilling can be tricky when it comes to small pieces, and maybe you just need that help to complete a particular artwork which has to be submitted, because sometimes artists do get deadlines and submissions, dates are there.
Yes. That's a great question. This is actually something that I was thinking about doing last year and then again this year, because I had very short times and I had a lot of things to do. So the quilling or the working out part, I do it myself. It's just maybe I have trust issues, but I know, and I've tried it out with other people where I have employed people to do certain things, and then they don't come out to the thing that I've done, and which is obvious because I have put in, like thousands of hours into making this. I know exactly how to do it. It's like muscle memory. But there's a lot of labor intensive things, especially when it comes to cutting paper, especially strips. My father was visiting me, so I made sure to make his arm work, and he cut like tons and tons of paper strips for me, which helped me immensely cut down my time significantly. So that kind of a, like a manual labor kind of a thing, I would, give it to people around me or someone who's willing to, just hang out with me in the studio. And there are a lot of people who want to hang out with with me in my studio. So they'll just come and they'll chop paper, and they'll just see me working and learn, or we'll have a good conversation.
Well, that's what I was coming to. I was thinking of actually you, because you do have, as you said, interest in teaching. That would be an interesting combination where you open up your studio, which you already said you do, and so all the viewers out there, if you want to learn and have this exclusive experience with Zahra Bain, then you should go visit her studio, and maybe you learn something during the help. So that is a great thing.
Welcome, absolutely.
All right. I want to come back a little bit towards the part where actually I was very curious, and that was pigment making. So I wanted to ask you, there's this one question that I have in mind. Why did you actually go towards making the pigment by yourself when there's so many good brands available?
That is a great question. And the story is somehow really, it just happened that, with my 3D sculptures, the geometric ones, I would be putting gold lines. I would be hand drawing lines with, some of my tools. And I tried a lot of brands out there, including this, the most famous one, that's the German brand Finitech. And I still was not happy with the amount of glitter and gold and the shimmer that I wanted. I knew what I wanted in my head. So, I was like looking at forums, and that's what I do at night. I just like read up a lot of blogs, a lot of artist stories. I'm really interested in how, other people's brains work, because we ourselves in our studio, we're so alone, right? We're in our heads. So I like to kind of like go see what's in other people's heads. And I was searching, how to create this kind of goal, what goes in and what's actually inside it. And then I stumbled upon this watercolor maker, an Australian watercolor maker, and he was very kind enough to share his recipe and his expertise. And I just started with making gold watercolors in different shades. And I was, sharing that process on Instagram and with my friends and other artist friends as well. And I sent out a couple of samples to people, to test it out after I'd, experimented a little. And the feedback was so good that it kind of just grew from there. So I was on a quest to search for the perfect watercolor, gold watercolor, and then it just, kind of exploded into a different category, because once I got to know how the process works, I fell in love with that process. So still to date, I don't create it to the scale that I want to, but I have enough inventory of pigments, and some of these pigments I just either source from actual, like, people who are selling those minerals, or even going out and foraging on my own. So it's just one of the, uh, I would say, a side hobby. I usually make it for my own personal use, but then I make it in a little bit of a bulk, so that if someone is interested in, kind of venturing into it, and alhamdulillah, people are. So, it benefits everybody.
Okay, so it means that if we want to grab on to those paints, it's totally available on the website, and I'll be sharing that website with you, and you can have a look at the link below. Um, I actually, even while you're talking about the gold color, I can totally, I think the visual that you had, that's what actually made me stop while I was scrolling once, where I saw that gold color. Actually, when you were applying, I was like, look at this beautiful gold color. And that is where I started following your page. And I think you have done an A game in making that gold color. I was totally in love with it, because I try to bring that gold, and I would use gold leaf for that dramatic. Sometimes I would use gold leaf in my painting, but no acrylic paint and no oil paint can give me that gold color. I totally agree with that. That gold color is missing. So yes. Okay, so I also wanted to ask you about the techniques and that you use, the geometry techniques that you use. Does it have a mathematical equation and play with it? And did you love maths when you were a child?
Yeah, I do love math. And the Islamic geometric designs that I create, that actually I've learned under a geometer. My very first teacher was Samira Mia, and I took a lot of her courses, and then I just progressed from there. And my intention was just like, I was just chilling, having fun with it. But eventually, I wanted to turn that thing into 3D, and that is where the experimentation began. So it's the 3D geometric work is not something that I can explain very well, because I've learned it through my own trial and error. But yes, definitely there is a lot of math involved. There is regular things being measured and things being, properly assembled in a factory, like, precision. So yeah.
Because for me, it is a lot of struggle to go with the geometric pattern. When I do painting, my hand goes like a fine artist. It goes on strokes, and just one stroke instinctively here and there. So when I see a work which has so much precision and so accurate, and especially your sculpture also goes the same way. There is one thing as 2D painting that still sinks in. But when I look at paper moving in the same direction with the measurement with such accuracy, so I think that does require a lot of experience.
It's a journey. I mean, if you scroll back down really into my feed many, many years ago, you'll still see the beginnings of how I started. And that was not very smooth or neat, or they were just creative ideas. It just got refined with time. Again, you do all these things again and again and again on a repetitive process. It builds into you, so you get that kind of refinement. You can see the confidence in the work, um, and that is what you see in the end. And on Instagram, obviously, or online, it's completely different. And then when I see people viewing my work in real life, that's a totally different kind of an experience.
It is. Okay, so I think I had a very good time and it was fun talking to you. Just a little question I want to ask you before we end up, which is that one color that you think you can make a whole art piece? If every color goes away, this one color is something you cannot let go of. Which one would that be?
I were to be really specific, it would be I can I choose two? I mean, I think it would be either ultramarine and then some sort of an ochre. Yeah, both of these colors are I find myself reaching out for them again and again. And blues are my favorite, so all types of blues for sure.
Anything if you want to like any piece recently, whatever you're working on, what is on your table right now? Which piece are you working on today?
Table right now. I just finished a piece today actually, and that piece is coming to Karachi for an exhibition at the end of the year. I'm very excited about that. Follow for more information on it. It's pretty huge. Again, Islamic geometric design, watercolored in it. I have the really exciting part for me for this piece was I put in a lot of um 24 karat gold leaf. So there it's kind of like there's a lot of leafing going on in this piece, and I've never done such an extensive gold leafing before. I've done like maybe like really tiny bits, but this is like really big. So I'm really excited about it. And yeah, that's something that I just completed. I still have two more pieces to go.
All right. Apart from that, thank you so much for your time. And it was amazing talking to you.
But thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to this.
All right. Take care. Bye. So, what do you feel? So, you all met Zahra Bin today. I hope you all enjoyed having a great conversation with her. She is an amazing artist and such a warm human being. I enjoyed how she explained her artwork and process. And I think she is a born artist because she clearly says she learned throughout the process. Can't wait to see and meet her in live in Karachi. I am hoping she will share soon with us where her show is, and don't miss it out.